So let's get straight on with our trip into orbit. So we've once again got Jeb at the helm. He seems to be the man of the hour. And we are off. Now you can see we've got new control surfaces now, or actually control surfaces this time, so we can hopefully control the craft a little bit better. Now as you can see we've already got a bit of wobble going on. Hopefully by being gentle we can make it not fall apart. So, while we're going up, we'll have a quick look here. Here we've got our orbit information. This number, particularly here when we're doing launches, the apoapsis number, is very handy because it means you can set your apoapsis without having to go to the map all the time. Over here we've also got delta V stats, which is basically the numerical representation of the amount of fuel you've got left. So you can much more accurately judge with your manoeuvre nodes where you're going to end up and whether you can pull off a manoeuvre you're trying to do without having to run through all the boring ISP calculations. And let's be honest, I didn't really come here to do maths. I came here to have fun and launch spaceships. So we'll avoid that for the time being. If you really want to read about it, I'm sure I'll get on the blog eventually. So coming up on 100 kilometers, which I think is where we should stop. There we go. So 100 k's up will give us a nice orbit. Atmosphere and orbit really starts at sort of 80 kilometers. So once you're over that, you're okay. Obviously 70 kilometers you're going to start grazing the atmosphere and it's going to ruin your orbit. It just gives you a nice bit of room. So we will jettison this stage. I know there's still fuel left, but it does mean that when I set my manoeuvre node in just a moment, that the calculation it gives me will be based on the single engine rather than on the 4 engines, and then we end up missing the whole thing because we... oh dear. Manoeuvre nodes. This is why I love MechJeb. Because the manoeuvre node system at the moment is a real bugbear for me. It's basically guessing at orbital mechanics, and I don't think anybody should be doing that. I think that's really a hiding to nowhere. So there we go, that's not a terrible orbit. We'll get back and we'll get it sorted out. Now we're very close to our burn point already, so we'll just line up the blue node, skip forward just a little bit, and fire up the engines. Now 1800 meters per second to cover, and we've got 2800 give or take in there. So that means we should have plenty to get us there. And up here you can see the new science package that we've got. That's got more experiments, which means more science. We've also got these 2 batteries up here. Now we're currently charging off the main engine, which means we're not using them, but they will be very handy for when we're going to the moon, so we better get used to them. Until we've got decent solar panels or other methods of generating electricity in space. We might use nuclear reactors later on. We need to keep the batteries charged, because if you run out of electricity you lose control authority, and if you lose control authority you're in real trouble. If you're a manned mission and you've got solar panels, I do believe you can go outside and open them manually. But if you've got a probe, then you're really out of luck, unfortunately. So we'll just tweak this a bit, and that's nice and close. So that should give us 1 orbit. Okay, that completes the contract, which means we get paid. And we also get 30 bonus science. Now what we'll do is we'll extend the antenna, do all the science experiments, and what we can do is we can keep the ones that are worth keeping and beam back the other ones. So we can beam back this. As you can see, the electric charge goes down. Now every time we do that, obviously with no solar panels we need to rely on the engines, and we don't want to be running the engines all the time. So we'll keep that, and keep that. Put all this stuff away. Get Jeb to go out and do an EVA report. Go on, Jeb. What can you see? You've recorded your observations. Excellent work, Jeb. Top marks. Keep that. Get back in. Right, now we should be able to review that stored data and we can beam that back as well. So there we go. That means that should everything go horribly wrong, we will still end up with some science. So now let's set up a maneuver node to land back somewhere. Let's pick that nice big desert there. So a prograde burn, and that should do it. We'll leave it a little bit in front because obviously Kerbin's going to spin round as we come in, and we're also never going to make that with atmospheric drag involved. So we'll get that set up. Time warp round to it. It's as fast as we're allowed to go. Or we're going to crash into something. Oops. One thing I have forgotten to do is to actually align the ship. Right. There we go, that's better. Yeah, not doing that can catch you out sometimes, and you end up having to spin round in rather a hurry. Hurrying things in space is generally bad for you. You want to be doing things with lots of preparation and lots of time to get yourself settled. But we also don't want to sit around all day. So there we go. Check the map. We don't have to be very accurate with this. That'll do. And now we time accelerate into the atmosphere. What we're going to try and do is basically use this remaining rocket stage as a kind of heat shield and ferrum defense system, so we don't get torn apart. We'll jettison it obviously before we land, and then the parachutes will take over and everything should be okay. So we've dropped back into the atmosphere, and we can now speed up time a bit. As you can see, the atmosphere is starting to have a bit of an effect with the extra wobble. So right, we're back post-crash, thanks Kerbals. And we're coming back through the atmosphere now. We've just touched the top of it, so speed up time, get down into the lower atmosphere, and get this thing slowed down. Jeb's still enjoying himself. He's been a great sport, certainly. I think we might have to get some other crew involved though fairly soon. So here we go, we're plunging in now. Much better. Starting to slow down just to 2 kilometers a second, so still going reasonably quickly. Now, obviously we don't have deadly re-entry on, otherwise we'd need a heat shield for this. But we'll use this rocket assembly as our heat shield and a defense against the rigours of ferrum. Some mountains heading out towards the desert. Now, desert's one of the biomes that we haven't landed in. Obviously we haven't landed anywhere much further away than the space centre at the moment. And the biomes will give us more science. Now Kerbin's covered in biomes, which is great, because it means you can amass quite a lot of science while never actually having to leave the planet. The multiplier's not great, but there are quite a few biomes. We'll get a lot more science from getting to the moon though, and that's what we're going to go for next. But first let's concentrate on getting this thing back to land and getting all that lovely science and seeing Jeb's smiling face in the canteen again. So here we go, coming down, slowing nicely, and we'll jettison this rocket stage about 300 meters a second. What we'll do is we'll bring our surface information up. This is another useful MetJeb window which shows you your actual true altitude, which is a lot lower than I'd like. So we launch the parachutes, and with any luck we should be slowing down nicely. Just, oh dear, oh heck. That's not right. Let's try and do something about that before we brain Jeb on the floor. Okay, just another 30 meters to go. Let's get this thing pointed the right way. And dunk. There we go. Mission accomplished. Quick crew report. Do the usual, take the data, EVA report, keep the data, store all the data. Now I don't think we're going to get back in here again, so we'll take a surface sample and do another EVA report. We'll give it a quick go. Oh, good man, Jeb. Good man. Well done. Right, and vessel recovery. Mission accomplished.